So we are here in Colorado at Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Fest, and I got Steve here. And Steve,
hello.
What is the best kind of day?
New Voron Day.
New Voron Day. We have a new Voron. Well,
It is 4 o'clock on the first day of a show.
yeah, true. It's been a long day. It's been a busy day. But we have a new Voron. Although, technically it's not a new Voron, but we have the new version of the Trident.
Yep.
Trident R2 is almost out.
Yeah,
Gonna be very soon.
close.
Very soon.
Actual soon.
Not Voron soon, actual soon. In fact, pretty much I think all that's left is just some manual stuff and just finalizing.
Little tweaks, fine-tune things, but actually really close.
What is Trident R2?
Trident R2, the scope of Trident R2 is a motion system upgrade. So motion system improvements, XYZ. So things like panel clips, skirts, those don't need to be upgraded right now. We wanted to get a motion system upgrade out there.
So what are we looking at? Well, I guess we'll start at the top, finish at the bottom. What's going on?
But first, I just want to give a quick thank you to Bontech for sponsoring this year's Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Fest coverage. Check out their new Index tool changing system or their selection of nozzles and extruders at the link in the video description below. Cheers.
So XY motion system is all new. Tool head isn't changing in this phase. So still stealth burner, that's fine. But BA, stepper mounts, XY joints, front idlers.
So if you are running though something like an A4T, an ant head, or any of the other optional,
Those will all work fine.
Yeah, still compatible with those as well.
Yeah, if we start at the back, the BA drives will support existing short steppers. Do we want to go here?
Yeah, we got an example here of the new motion system.
Yep. So A drive mount here has support for longer shaft steppers.
So we have double shear now, bearing at the top. You can reuse your older steppers with the short shafts if you want,
Correct.
but if you want to get new ones or you have ones with the longer shaft, you want the double shear support that is supported now.
Reworked belt path, whereas on the old Trident, the wiring went down the front. Now there is a bearing stack in the way. So the bearing or the belt path goes at an angle to the back of the printer. That does a couple of things. The belt routing is easier. There is about 53 millimeters less belt length per belt, which is significant. And it provides a sizable passage. If you imagine your rear extrusion here, this is where your wiring and anything else goes through. So that's the core improvements here. Sticker, 6 millimeters instead of 5 millimeters.
Okay. But you could still use the same screw, so we just inset it there.
Yep. So then moving forward into the XY joint, it is reworked because of the stack up of fasteners here mostly, but there is an accent piece here now. This changes depending on what end stop solution you're using. So this is just a basic cover piece. The other thing, so here and in the XY joints is we're adding M5 heat sets into the BOM. So it just makes assembly easier in many parts of the printer. So M5 hex nuts are gone. Kablooey. M5 heat sets are the new hotness. Additional F65 bearings because these are double stacks on both instead of one of them being a single stack. M540 button heads replaces completely M540 socket heads. That's the most. There's some reshaping of the parts in the XY joint. This is still traditional Gates idlers or similar. However, there is more meat here. If someone wanted to do a live idler setup, there's more plastic there to do it.
And there's more meat, so hopefully less issues of this cracking in that area as well.
Yeah. Front idlers are based on the BFIs. Hart-K did a BFI single bolt mod that I am utilizing the concept of here, but the whole thing is redesigned beyond that. The bearing carrier here rides on 2 M3x40s that have PTFE tubes around them. So this whole thing moves very smooth and is constrained to be to make sure that the bearing is in line with the rest of the belt path.
Excellent. And it's only one screw in the front for tensioning now too.
One screw. Yep.
Excellent. And then what are these stops here in the front?
So this bolts to the front extrusion from the side. That is because this whole thing is about 3 millimeters shorter than normal. So there isn't enough room for 2 bolts coming in from the top, but it also has the side benefit of making sure that everything lines up when you bolt it all together. Speaking of which, that 3 millimeters shorter, similar on the back, what I forgot to mention, it's also 3 millimeters shorter. we're allowing an extra 3 millimeters on each side of over travel on the rail.
So on this example, we don't have a rail there, but obviously you would have a rail here.
Yeah, this is just a booth demo piece. But the rail here would go through. So on a 250, you have a 40 millimeter carriage and a 300 millimeter rail. So normally you have 260 millimeters of carriage travel. So that allows for 266 millimeters of total carriage travel, which comes in handy for things like Index or a Trident version of Stealth Changer or whatever. So just the idea is maximizing the flexibility of the components.
And we do have an Index on a Trident. We'll get to that later.
Yes. And everything in these components are reworked for belt path routing. Printed features to where you just push the belt in a direction and it just kind of goes where it's supposed to go. This one's kind of jammed in here,
but
so I'm not going to fiddle with it.
We have some curved surfaces in here essentially, so when you push the belt in, it should auto route pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
So Grant, wherever you are, Grant, you will love this update.
So that's pretty much the gantry. The carriage and tool head are a future project.
Okay, and with the plethora of mods and other options for tool heads out there, it wasn't kind of a priority this time around for the upgrade.
Right.
Okay, so that is the XY motion system. What do we got for Z now?
So Z, let's start at the bottom and work our way up.
Okay.
So we start with the foundation. So the previous version of Trident had stepper motor mounts that bolt in from the top on to the extrusions. What I feel like is that when those are tightened, it had a tendency to pull the corner of the mount up, which means that this wasn't as vertical aligned as it could be. So over here, we can see with the cover removed that the stepper mount, it moves the stepper down about 16 millimeters, which has a side benefit of giving more clearance for tool heads with big fan setups. And then it bolts in from the side. So that's just easier to assemble correctly is the idea. Side benefit, even though I'm not a big fan, is that inverted electronics is super easy to do on here because it's already set up for it. You just change the way you mount your cover. Moving up, Z carriages now use a heat set for the pivot point. M5 heat set like we added. And the pivot point has been rotated outward and towards the front of the printer, which gives a lot more room here than we had before. What that does is gives us an opportunity to move the bed forward and back using different printed parts, these parts.
Okay, so if you're printing something like, again, a Stealth Changer or an Index on this, you want to move your bed back a little bit to get a little bit more wide travel, you would just print one of these that shifts the whole bed itself back.
Yep.
Excellent.
So the companion mod to that is on the rear, and the MGN9 rail moves to the side instead of on the front of the rear extrusion.
Okay,
so that gives the extra room back there in order to do the same thing, move the bed back and forth.
Okay, excellent. And then we do have a spool holder on the inside, but this isn't
That's a mod.
That's a mod. This isn't part of R2, but hey, you can do this.
It is really cool.
You can do this if you want.
Because that filament path in the back corner that we showed earlier allows the wiring or filament or whatever.
Yep, so we have filament tube going all the way up, and you can see the clearance that we now have there. So if you already have a Trident and you want to upgrade from your existing Trident to the R2 Trident, we're looking at a couple extra bearings, some M5 heat sets, some slightly different
extra fasteners.
Yeah, a couple fasteners here and there. You might have these parts in your part bin already, and of course, you just print new parts.
Yep.
So that's one of the fun things with Voron. Whenever we upgrade something, we try to keep at least the hardware as similar as possible.
Yes.
And of course, all your favorite mods like clicky clack doors, different skirts, different panels, top hats, that's all compatible still as well.
That's outside the scope of this revision.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay, so we have two normal ones here. We have one with the Stealth Changer, or this is a V2.
That's a V2. Yep.
But we do have one with an Index.
Yes.
So let's go on a little adventure over to the Bontech booth and take a look at that. So Steve, we're over here at the wonderful Bontech booth. This is a Trident R2 with the Bontech Index system. So what if those that want to put Index on their Trident, what do they got to do?
So one of the benefits of all the things we talked about on the R2 is for systems like Index, you can maximize print area.
Okay.
Right? So in this case, for my Index implementation, I modified the new front idlers to add mounts, adjustable mounts for the 1515 crossbar. And I moved the bed back using those new Z mounts, 8 millimeters. And now the total print area on this 250 Trident is 250 by 240.
Okay, so we're losing 10 millimeters of Y, but we're getting a 6-tool tool changer.
Right.
Okay.
Up to 7 tools could fit on this printer, but
it is a little tight. There might be some rubbing.
Yeah.
Depending on how your setup is, there's always a little bit of variance with DIY kits.
Yeah.
So you might be able to sneak in 7, but 6 guaranteed on
Now,
a 250.
in CAD, theoretical minimum bed loss is about 8 millimeters, but an easy, safe number for this is a 10 millimeter loss for this setup.
Okay. And then what else do we have here? So we have the clicky clack door mod.
So these, for that print area, the tools do need to stick out the front a little bit, which means that the clicky clack door is desired mod.
Okay. And then the tool head itself, you just print a little adapter to mount the tool head to the carriage.
Yeah, and it's the one that Bontech provides. I didn't change it.
Oh, excellent. And then of course you are going to need a top hat of some sort if you do plan on printing ABS.
Yep, and this is just the Stealth Changer top hat modified for a 250 build.
Okay. And you don't actually need that much top hat.
No.
You don't need as much. The Bowdens do clear. So if you want to roll your own top hat of some sort.
I think this is 200 millimeters. It could be 150 pretty easily.
Okay, but if you already have a Stealth Changer top hat, you might as well throw it on.
And then I did my own little spool holder mod.
Yeah, personal preference. If you want to have like a box next to it that holds all your filament, or you want to go like this kind of route where you have 3 on each side. If you're doing a 350 and you have 8 tools, you could do 4 on each side.
And I was thinking it kind of looks cool with the 6 filament paths there.
It's nice and balanced and even. You're not putting too much weight on the side of your printer. It's not going to tip over on you. And then these just kind of clamp onto the extrusions here and Bowden guides.
I don't remember where I got this idea. I know that I saw it somewhere. So if anybody knows who's done this, clamping to the corner of a extrusion like this, maybe that's where I got it.
And this whole system's pretty inert, and if you wanted to get all fancy and you have the option, the available ports on your controller, you could probably fit some run-out sensors in these as well.
Cool. Yep.
Down the line.
That'd be a good idea.
This is just this is very new, so just let's get this working, get it printing, and we'll let the community, go crazy with it.
Exactly.
People just be building shit, and that's how it works.
So the changes from Trident R2 are very minimal and are very applicable to so many of these projects.
And then this one right here is running the CPAP. This is the Big Tree Tech CPAP controller, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So there we go too. So that is the VORON TRIDENT R2, available very soon. And really soon.
Really soon. Actual soon.
Actual soon.
Not VORON soon.
Awesome. Cheers, Steve.
Take care.